The massive chamber floated in the darkness of space, orbiting a dying star at the edge of the galaxy. Inside, beings from 3,000 different worlds gathered for an emergency meeting. Some had scales, others had fur. Some breathed oxygen, others needed methane. But today they all shared one purpose: to judge humanity. Commander Taeyang Kim stood in the center of the circular floor, feeling the weight of countless eyes upon him. The human delegation was small, just 3 people in a room designed for thousands. Next to him stood Hana Park, his strategic advisor, and Dongwoo Lee, their chief engineer. They wore simple blue uniforms that looked plain compared to the elaborate robes and armor of other species. 15 years ago, Earth had received its first visit from aliens. The Vrelian Empire had arrived with promises of peace and knowledge. They invited humanity to join the Galactic Council, a union of species that had existed for millions of years. Earth accepted, grateful and excited, but those 15 years had taught Taeyang the truth. The Council didn't want partners, they wanted servants. A crystalline figure rose from the upper tier of seats. Ambassador Korath of the Vrelian Empire stood nearly 12 feet tall, his body made of living crystal that reflected light in rainbow patterns. When he spoke, his voice boomed through translation devices that everyone wore. "We are here today because humanity has betrayed us," Korath announced. "They signed the Non-Proliferation Accords. They promised not to develop advanced weapons. But our intelligence has discovered that humans are building recursive artificial intelligence systems designed for warfare. This is forbidden technology." Murmurs filled the chamber. Thousands of aliens whispered to each other in languages that sounded like music, grinding rocks or bubbling water. Taeyang felt his heart pound, but he kept his face calm. "That is not true," he said clearly. "Earth has followed every rule the Council gave us. We have not violated any agreement." Korath's crystalline body flashed with angry red light. "Do you deny that your scientists have been conducting secret research? Do you deny that Earth has hidden facilities throughout your solar system?" "We have research facilities," Taeyang admitted. "Every species in this council has research facilities. That doesn't mean we're building weapons of mass destruction." "Then you will allow us to inspect these facilities," Korath demanded. "You will open every door, share every file, and prove your innocence." Taeyang exchanged a quick glance with Hana. They both knew what lay hidden in those facilities. Not weapons designed to attack, but weapons designed to defend. Because humanity had learned something terrible about the Galactic Council. "We will consider reasonable inspection protocols," Taeyang said carefully. "But Earth is a sovereign world. We have rights. You have the rights we grant you." Korath's voice shook the chamber. "Earth is a probationary member. You are children playing with fire. The Council exists to maintain peace and order. Your species is too young, too violent, too dangerous to be trusted with advanced technology." Hana stepped forward, her voice sharp. "Interesting words from the Vrelian Empire. Should we discuss how many probationary species your corporations have exploited? Should we talk about the medical technology you stole from Earth and sold for profit?" Gasps echoed through the chamber. Speaking against the Vrelians was rare. They were the Council's enforcers, the military power that kept order. Korath's entire body turned deep crimson. "You dare accuse us? We have given humanity everything. We taught you quantum physics. We shared our star maps. We invited you into civilized society. And you kept us weak," Hana replied. "Every time Earth tried to advance, you created new rules. Every innovation we made, you claimed for yourselves. You don't want partners, Ambassador. You want puppets." The chamber erupted in noise. Some aliens shouted in agreement. Others roared in anger. Taeyang saw creatures with tentacles waving them frantically, while beings made of pure energy flickered with agitation. A deep gong sounded, bringing silence. The council speaker, an ancient being called a Thendrian who looked like a floating jellyfish made of light, spoke in a voice that echoed with authority. "There will be a vote," the speaker announced. "The question is simple. Should Earth face technological quarantine and expulsion from Council space for violating the Non-Proliferation Accords? Members will vote now." Taeyang watched as lights appeared throughout the chamber, green for no, red for yes. At first, the votes seemed mixed, but as the major powers cast their votes, the tide turned. The Vrelians voted yes, the Korvati voted yes, the Thendrians voted yes. The smaller species, the younger members, mostly voted no, but they didn't have enough power. The final count appeared in the air above them. 2,947 votes for sanctions, 153 against. The speaker's voice was sad but firm. The Council has decided. Earth has 30 days to withdraw all vessels from beyond your solar system. You will submit to full technological inspection. If you refuse, the Council will enforce this decision by military action. Tae-young felt cold. 30 days. They wanted to strip Earth of everything humanity had built in space. The mining colonies on asteroids, the research stations on Mars, the exploration ships searching for new worlds. This is wrong, Tae-young said quietly. History will remember this as a mistake. History is written by those who survive, Korath replied with satisfaction in his voice. Your species has much to learn about humility. The hearing ended. As Tae-young, Hana, and Dongwoo left the chamber, they said nothing. Too many ears listened. Too many eyes watched. They walked through corridors filled with aliens who stepped aside, some with pity in their eyes, others with contempt. Only when they reached their shuttle did Hana finally speak. She checked the small device in her hand, a scanner that detected listening equipment. Finding none, she looked at Tae-young with a slight smile. They have no idea what we've really been building, do they? She whispered. Tae-young's expression was grim, but a fire burned in his eyes. No, they think we're weak. They think we'll surrender and beg for mercy. Dongwoo checked his communication pad. The message is ready to send. Encrypted, routed through 12 different relay stations. Once you give the word, Admiral Jiwoo will receive it in less than an hour. Tae-young looked out the shuttle window at the stars. Somewhere out there, beyond the Council's sight, beyond their sensors and spies, humanity had been preparing, not for conquest, not for revenge, but for the moment when the galaxy would try to crush them. Send it, Tae-young ordered. Tell Jiwoo to initiate Protocol Prometheus. As their shuttle accelerated away from the Council station, heading back toward Earth, Tae-young thought about everything his species had endured. Humanity had survived ice ages and plagues. They had overcome wars and disasters. They had climbed from caves to reach the stars. The Council thought they knew humanity. They thought humans were naive, weak, too emotional, and divided to be a real threat. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Back on Earth, in a secret military facility buried deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, Admiral Jiwoo Shin received the encrypted message. She stood in a command center surrounded by screens showing star maps and ship positions. Officers worked at stations throughout the room, all waiting for her orders. Jiwoo read the message twice, then looked up at the assembled fleet commanders who had gathered for this moment. Their faces were serious, determined. They voted against us, Jiwoo announced. Just as we predicted. The Council demands our surrender. One of the commanders, a young woman named Minji Choi, stood straighter. What are your orders, Admiral? Jiwoo looked at each of them. These men and women who had trained in secret, who had built weapons the Council never imagined, who had prepared for this day since humanity first realized the truth about their so-called friends in the stars. Initiate Protocol Prometheus, Jiwoo ordered, her voice clear and strong. Launch the hidden fleet. It's time the galaxy learned what humanity truly is. We are not their servants. We are not their children. We are humans, and we will never kneel. Across the solar system, in asteroid bases and hidden shipyards, dozens of warships powered up their engines. Humanity's true strength, hidden for years, was about to be revealed. 10 years before the Council's ultimatum, a human exploration ship called the Wanderer had made a discovery that changed everything. Captain Bo-ra Han and her crew were mapping the outer regions of space when their sensors detected something strange. A massive derelict ship floating in the darkness between stars. The ship was ancient, built by a species that called themselves the Architects. They had been dead for 1,000,000 years, but their technology still functioned. Inside the ship, Bo-ra's team found a warning message. The Galactic Council was not what it claimed to be. The most powerful species had created the Council to control younger races, to keep them weak and dependent. The message was clear. Any species that grew too strong would be destroyed. Earth's leaders had made a decision that day. If the Council would eventually try to crush humanity, then humans needed to be ready. In secret, they began building a fleet. Not in Earth's orbit where Council sensors could see, but hidden in the Kuiper Belt, among the ice and rock at the edge of the solar system. Now in the frozen darkness beyond Neptune, Captain Minji Choi stood on the bridge of the UHSV Indomitable. Through the view screen, she could see 49 other human warships, all waiting in silence. These vessels looked different from Council ships. They were smaller, more angular, painted in dark colors that made them hard to detect. "Status report," Minji ordered. Her tactical officer, a man named Jae-ho, checked his displays. "All ships report ready. Weapons armed. Engines at standby power. The Vrelian fleet should arrive in approximately 30 minutes. Minji nodded. The Vrelians were coming to enforce the Council's decision. Their third enforcement fleet consisted of 200 warships, led by Commander Jae-sung-oh, a veteran of dozens of campaigns against species that refused to obey Council law. The Vrelians expected an easy victory. Humanity had only been in space for a few generations. They were children playing with toys. That's what the Council believed. "Tactical update on our surprises?" Minji asked. Jae-ho smiled grimly. "All kinetic kill vehicles are in position. Launch platforms are hidden throughout the sector. The Vrelians won't see them until it's too late." Minji understood the strategy. Council species relied on energy weapons and shields that could deflect lasers and plasma bolts. But humans had developed something different: kinetic weapons that used simple physics. A chunk of metal accelerated to 90% of light speed didn't need fancy technology. It just needed mass and velocity. "Captain," the communications officer called out. "Admiral Jiwoo sends her regards. She says to make our ancestors proud." Minji felt a surge of emotion. Her grandmother had fled a war on Earth decades ago, hoping for peace. Now her granddaughter commanded a warship defending humanity's freedom. Life was strange sometimes. "All ships," Minji broadcast on the fleet channel, "remember your training. The Vrelians fight with formations and protocols. They follow rules. We don't. Use that advantage. Be creative. Be unpredictable. And above all, survive. Good hunting." 49 captains acknowledged her words. The wait felt endless. Minji watched the clock count down. 20 minutes, 15:10. Then space itself seemed to tear open. Bright flashes appeared as the Vrelian fleet emerged from quantum space. Their faster-than-light engines allowing them to cross vast distances in moments. 200 massive ships materialized near Neptune, their hulls gleaming with force fields and weapon arrays. Minji could hear Commander Jae-sung's voice on the open communication channels, broadcasting to the solar system. "This is Commander Jae-sung-oh of the Vrelian Third Enforcement Fleet. Humanity has been found guilty of violating Council law. Surrender your vessels immediately or they will be destroyed. You have 1 hour to comply." His voice dripped with arrogance. He probably thought he was being generous, giving humans time to surrender. Minji looked at Jae-ho. "Launch Package 1. Launching now," Jae-ho confirmed. Throughout the sector, hidden platforms activated. They had been placed days ago, positioned carefully along the route the Vrelian fleet would take. Each platform held dozens of kinetic kill vehicles, simple cylinders of tungsten steel with small engines. The projectiles launched silently in the vacuum of space, accelerating to impossible speeds. They moved so fast that even advanced sensors had trouble tracking them. The first kinetic strike hit a Vrelian cruiser amidships. At 90% of light speed, the tungsten cylinder hit with the force of a nuclear weapon. The ship's shields flickered once, then failed. The hull shattered. The vessel broke into pieces. 11 more ships died in the next 30 seconds. On his flagship, Commander Jae-sung stared at his displays in shock. "What just hit us? Report!" His tactical officer stammered. "I don't know, sir. Whatever it was, it moved too fast for our point defense, and our shields didn't stop it." "That's impossible," Jae-sung said. "Council shields can stop any known weapon." "Apparently not this one, sir." More strikes hit home. Vrelian ships tried to raise additional shields, but kinetic weapons didn't care about energy barriers. "They were just metal moving very, very fast. Return fire," Jae-sung ordered.
"Find the source of those attacks."
Vrelian ships began shooting in all directions, their plasma cannons painting space with deadly energy. But they were firing at ghosts. The launch platforms were small, stealthy, and already moving to new positions. "Contact," a sensor officer shouted. Multiple ships decloaking bearing 270. Minji's fleet had been hiding in the shadow of Neptune's largest moon, using the magnetic field to mask their signatures. Now they dropped their stealth measures and accelerated into battle. The human ships moved differently than Council vessels. They didn't maintain neat formations or follow predictable patterns. They scattered like a school of fish, each ship moving independently but in coordination with the others. All ships engage at will, Minji ordered. Target their command vessels first. The Indomitable dove toward a Vrelian battleship, weapons firing. Human missiles streaked across space, not the slow, powerful torpedoes the Council used, but hundreds of smaller, faster projectiles that overwhelmed point defense systems. On the battleship, alarms screamed. The Vrelian crew tried to shoot down the incoming missiles, but there were too many. Explosions rippled across the hull. Minji's helmsman, a young woman named Hee-Jin, piloted the Indomitable with incredible skill. She spun the ship through a corkscrew maneuver that brought them below the battleship's main weapons. The Vrelians couldn't depress their guns low enough to target the smaller human ship. Hit them again, Minji ordered. More missiles struck home. The battleship's engines went dark. It began to drift, disabled but not destroyed. Throughout the battle zone, similar scenes played out. Human ships darted between their larger opponents, using speed and agility to compensate for smaller size. When Vrelian vessels tried to predict human movements, the humans did something unexpected. Commander Jae-sung could not believe what he was seeing. His fleet was in chaos. These primitive humans were supposed to be easy prey. Instead, they fought like demons. Reform the fleet, he ordered. Pull back to defensive formation Alpha. But as the Vrelian ships tried to regroup, the humans struck again. This time, something new happened. Engineer Su Bin Yang aboard the Indomitable had been working on a special project. She had studied Council computer systems and found them incredibly advanced but also rigid. They followed strict protocols, used predictable encryption, assumed certain rules. Human computers were different. They had evolved through centuries of hackers, viruses, and digital warfare. Su Bin had created something based on old Earth computer worms. Adapted for alien technology, Captain. I'm attempting a network intrusion on the flagship, Su Bin reported. Do it, Minji approved. Su Bin's fingers flew across her console. She launched the virus through a communication channel, disguising it as routine fleet chatter. The Vrelian systems, which had never encountered this type of attack, let it in. On Jae-sung's flagship, systems began failing. Navigation went offline. Weapons refused to fire. Communications scrambled. What is happening? Jae-sung shouted. Sir, we're being hacked. But I don't understand. This coding structure is completely alien to me. It's not following any known. The officer never finished his sentence. The virus spread through the flagship's network, then jumped to other ships in the fleet through their tactical links. 20 Vrelian vessels lost control simultaneously. Commander Jae-sung finally understood the truth. Humanity wasn't weak. They were different. They fought wars in ways the Council had forgotten over millions of years of peace. All ships, Jae-sung said, his voice defeated. Retreat, full quantum jump now. Fall back to Council space. The remaining Vrelian vessels activated their quantum drives and vanished, leaving behind disabled ships and debris. On the Indomitable, Minji's crew erupted in cheers. They had won. Against impossible odds, humanity had won. But Minji remained calm. This is just the beginning, she said. The Council will not accept this defeat. They will send more ships. As if on cue, Admiral Ji-woo's face appeared on the view screen. Captain Choi, excellent work. Secure the disabled vessels and take prisoners. Treat them well. They're evidence that the Council underestimated us. Understood, Admiral. What now? Ji-woo's smile was cold. Now we send a message. Open a broadcast on all Council frequencies. News of humanity's victory spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. On thousands of worlds, aliens gathered around communication devices to watch recordings of the battle. They saw the mighty Vrelian fleet retreat in disarray. They heard Admiral Ji-woo's defiant message. The reactions were mixed. On the Litharian homeworld, a water planet covered in vast oceans, the peaceful aquatic people debated what this meant. Ambassador Duresh, their representative to the Council, spoke before the planetary assembly. The Vrelians told us the humans were dangerous, Duresh said, his voice carrying through the water. But perhaps the real danger is a council that destroys any species growing strong enough to question its authority. Many Litharians agreed. They had been loyal council members for 10,000 years, but they had also noticed troubling patterns. Young species were kept weak. Innovation was controlled. The old powers remained in charge forever. Meanwhile, on the insectoid world of Mexar, Millions of beings moved as one through their hive cities. The Mixari thought collectively, their minds linked through biological networks. They had watched the battle and reached a consensus. Humanity had exposed the Council's weakness. Ambassador Korath of the Vrelian Empire was furious. He stood in the emergency council session, his crystalline body pulsing with angry red light. "This attack was unprovoked," he shouted. "The humans ambushed our fleet. They used weapons forbidden by the Council Charter. They must be destroyed before they threaten other peaceful species." Commander Taiyang Kim, still representing Earth at the Council station, stood calmly. "Our defense was entirely provoked, Ambassador. You sent a military fleet to our home system with the intent to force us into submission. We simply protected ourselves. You killed thousands of Vrelian crew members." "We killed no one," Taiyang corrected. "Every vessel we disabled was offered rescue. Every prisoner we took has been treated according to Council humanitarian laws. Can the Vrelians say the same about species they've conquered?" Murmurs rippled through the chamber. That last comment struck home. Hana Park stepped forward holding a data device. "I have documents to share with the Council. These are classified Vrelian communications obtained from the damaged flagship. They show that the Vrelian Empire has violated the Non-Proliferation Accords 63 times in the last century. They developed weapons far more advanced than anything Earth created. But the Council never sanctioned them." She paused, letting that sink in. "I also have evidence that Vrelian corporations have been stealing Earth's medical technology. Humans developed cures for 17 diseases that plague Council species. We shared those cures freely, as required by our membership agreement. But Vrelian companies patented our work and sold it for profit. Earth received nothing." The chamber erupted in chaos. Species shouted accusations. Others demanded investigations. The Council speaker's gong sounded repeatedly before order returned. Korath's crystalline form had turned dark purple. "These are lies. Fabrications designed to—" "We can verify the documents," a new voice interrupted. It belonged to Kritik, the Mixari hive speaker. The insectoid being's thousands of compound eyes gleamed in the chamber's light. "The Mixari have also suffered under Vrelian exploitation. We support Earth's position. The Council must be reformed." Duresh of Litharia rose next. "The Litharian people also stand with humanity. We have been silent too long about the Council's injustices. No more." Within an hour, 47 other species had joined Earth's coalition. They represented younger civilizations, smaller populations, species that had felt the Council's heavy hand for generations. The old powers, Vrelians, Korvathi, and Thendrians, suddenly found themselves outnumbered politically, even if they still controlled more military force. But Korath was not finished. "Words mean nothing," he declared. "Military strength is what matters. Earth has won one battle. They will not win a war. The Council is assembling a grand fleet, 700 ships from 5 empires. Humanity will be crushed." Taiyang met the Vrelian's gaze without fear. "Then more of your ships will be destroyed. Is that really what you want? Or could we try something revolutionary? Actual negotiation between equals?" The Council chamber fell silent. Equals. That word had power. Back in Earth's solar system, preparations for the next battle were underway. Admiral Kyung-Soo Baek commanded humanity's response fleet. 80 warships, twice as many as the first engagement, but still vastly outnumbered by the approaching Council armada. Kyung-Soo studied tactical displays in his command center on Mars. His officers worked around him, planning strategies for a battle where they would face nearly 9-to-1 odds. "The Council fleet is moving through the Helix Nebula," his tactical officer reported. "They'll reach our system in approximately 8 hours. Kyung-Soo nodded. "And Dr. Song? Is the architect device ready?" "She says it's ready," the officer replied hesitantly. "But she also says it's never been tested at this scale. It might not work. Or worse, it might work too well." Dr. Yoon-hee Song had been studying the architect technology for 10 years. Among their discoveries was a device that could temporarily disable quantum drives in a massive radius. In theory, it would leave Council ships unable to escape or maneuver using their faster-than-light engines. The problem was that it might also affect human ships. And there was no way to test it without revealing its existence to the Council. "Tell Dr. Song we're trusting her calculations," Kyung-Soo said. "We either use every advantage we have or we lose." He turned to his communications officer. Send a message to all fleet captains. We're going to lure the Council Armada into the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. Once they're there, we activate the Architect device and engage with conventional weapons. That's a risky strategy, sir, one of his commanders observed. If the device fails, we fight anyway, Kyung-soo interrupted. But if it works, we turn a space battle into something the Council has never experienced. Close quarters combat in a debris field where their superior numbers mean less. 8 hours felt like 8 minutes. Kyung-soo barely had time to eat, sleep, or think about anything except the coming battle. He thought about his daughter on Earth, 7 years old, who believed her father protected people. He wanted her to grow up in a free humanity, not a species enslaved by the Council. The Council Armada arrived right on schedule. 700 warships emerged from quantum space near Jupiter, their combined mass creating gravitational ripples. Commander Jae-sung-oh was there again, demoted, but still given a chance to redeem himself. He led a vanguard of Vrelian cruisers. Beside the Vrelians came Korvathi battleships, massive vessels with weapons that could crack planets. Thendrian carriers launched thousands of smaller fighter craft. 2 other species contributed their fleets as well. The Council commander, an old Korvathi admiral named Tekmor, broadcast on all frequencies. Humans, this is your final opportunity. Surrender now. Power down your vessels. Submit to Council judgment. If you resist, we will destroy every ship, every station, every satellite in your system. Kyung-soo responded with calm confidence. This is Admiral Bayek of Earth. You are entering our home system uninvited and with hostile intent. Leave now or face the consequences. Tekmor's laughter boomed through the speakers. You have 80 ships. We have 700. Your mathematics are as primitive as your technology. This ends now. The Council Armada began advancing, moving in perfect formation. It was beautiful in its own way. Hundreds of ships moving as one, following battle doctrines refined over millions of years. Kyung-soo watched them come. Execute retreat pattern Delta. Draw them toward the belt. The human fleet turned and fled, engines burning at maximum power. It looked like panic. It looked like humans finally understanding they were outmatched. The Council fleet pursued eagerly, sensing easy prey. The asteroid belt stretched across millions of miles, filled with rock and metal debris left over from the solar system's formation. Some asteroids were as large as cities, others no bigger than cars. It was a navigator's nightmare, a field of obstacles moving in unpredictable patterns. The human fleet dove into it without hesitation, ships weaving between asteroids with practiced ease. They had trained in this environment for years. The Council fleet followed more cautiously. Their larger ships had trouble maneuvering through the dense field. But they kept coming, confident in their numbers. All ships in position, Kyung-soo's tactical officer reported. Council fleet is now fully within the belt. Kyung-soo took a deep breath. Dr. Song, activate the device. On a secret station hidden inside a hollowed asteroid, Yoon Hee-song pressed a sequence of controls. The Architect device hummed to life, its ancient technology awakening after 1,000,000 years of sleep. Space itself seemed to ripple. An invisible wave expanded outward at the speed of light, washing over every ship in the asteroid belt. On Tekmor's flagship, alarms suddenly screamed. Sir, our quantum drive just went offline.
What, how?
I don't know. It's like the space-time field collapsed. We can't generate a quantum bubble. Similar reports came from every Council ship. 700 vessels suddenly lost their most advanced propulsion system. They were stuck with only conventional engines, slower, less maneuverable. Kyung-soo allowed himself a small smile. Now they're fighting on our terms. All ships engage. The Council chamber felt different now. Before aliens had looked at Tae-yang with contempt or pity. Now they watched him with respect, fear, or calculation. 30 human warships held position around the station, visible through the transparent walls. They were a reminder that Earth's words now carried weight. Tae-yang stood tall in the center of the floor. Hana Park stood beside him, carrying data files that would shake the Council to its core. Around them, 3,000 species waited to hear what humanity would demand. For 15 years, Earth has been a good member of this Council. Tae-yang began. We followed your rules. We accepted limitations on our technology. We shared our innovations freely. We tried to be the civilized species you claim to want us to be. He paused, looking around the chamber. But we learned the truth. The Galactic Council is not a democracy. It is not a union of equals. It is an empire disguised as a parliament. The most powerful species have built a system designed to keep younger civilizations weak and dependent. Angry murmurs rose from the Vrelian, Korvathi, and Thendrian sections, but many other species listened quietly, their expressions thoughtful. Earth has demands, Taeyang continued. Full membership rights with complete voting power, an end to all technological restrictions on humanity, reparations for stolen innovations, and most importantly, a complete investigation into the Council's treatment of probationary species. Ambassador Korath rose, his crystalline body flashing with fury. You dare make demands? You attacked Council fleets. You are criminals, not victims. Hana stepped forward. We have evidence, Ambassador. Would you like to see it? Or would you prefer we simply release it to every species in the Council? Korath hesitated. That moment of hesitation told everyone that the Vrelians had something to hide. Show them, Taeyang ordered. Hana activated her data device. Holographic displays appeared throughout the chamber, visible to all. They showed documents, communication records, financial transactions. But more importantly, they showed something else, a message from the architects. 10 years ago, a human exploration ship found a derelict vessel, Hana explained. It belonged to a species called the Architects. They existed 1 million years ago before the Council was formed. And they left a warning. The message played. An alien voice spoke, translated by technology into words everyone could understand. If you are hearing this, your civilization has likely encountered what we once called the Coalition. They may claim to be a council of equals, a gathering of peaceful species. Do not believe them. The Coalition was formed by conquest, not cooperation. The strongest species discovered our technology and used it to dominate others. They rewrote history to hide their crimes. Shocked silence filled the chamber. The architect message continued. We were one of 7 civilizations that tried to resist. We failed. The Coalition destroyed our worlds and erased our existence from history. We leave this warning so that future species might learn the truth. Do not trust them. Do not submit to them. They will keep you weak until you are no longer useful. Then they will erase you. Taeyang let the message sink in. The Council has existed for millions of years, but it was built on lies. The founding species, Vrelians, Korvathi, Thendrians, they found architect technology and used it to conquer other civilizations. Then they created the Council as a way to control younger species while appearing benevolent. This is nonsense, Korath shouted. Ancient propaganda from a dead species. You have no proof. We have the ship, Hana interrupted. We have its entire database. We have records of the Coalition's wars against the Architects. We have evidence of genocides, of species erased from existence, of technologies stolen and claimed as Council innovations. Should we continue? Because there's more, so much more. The chamber erupted. Species shouted at each other in thousands of languages. Some demanded investigations. Others tried to defend the Council. Many simply looked shocked, their faith in the institution shattered. Duresh of Letheria rose, his voice carrying through the chaos. The Letharian people call for a full investigation. We must know the truth about our history. Kredik of Mixar added agreement. The Mixari consensus supports Earth's demands. The Council must be reformed or replaced. Within minutes, over 100 species had joined the call for investigation. The old powers could see their control slipping away. During the recess that followed, Taeyang walked through the station's corridors with Hana and a security detail. They needed to reach their secure communication room to update Earth on the situation. They never made it. 6 Vrelian agents attacked from a side passage. They moved fast, armed with energy weapons, but they had made one mistake. They assumed human bodyguards would be easy targets. Lieutenant Sijin Kang commanded Taeyang's security detail. She had trained with Earth's special forces, studying combat techniques from 100 different human cultures. When the first Vrelian agent fired, Sejin was already moving. She rolled under the energy blast, came up behind a decorative pillar, and threw a small device. It was an electromagnetic pulse grenade, simple Earth technology that the Vrelians had never encountered. Their advanced energy weapons suddenly stopped working. The Vrelians pulled out backup weapons, but they were not trained for close combat. Council species had fought their wars with technology for so long that hand-to-hand fighting was nearly forgotten. Si-Jin closed the distance in seconds. She struck the first agent with precise blows that targeted nerve clusters. The Vrelian's crystalline body might be strong, but it still had vulnerable points. The agent went down. The other guards engaged the remaining assassins. It was brutal and quick. Within 2 minutes, all 6 Vrelians were subdued, their hands bound. Taeyang had watched the fight with wide eyes. "Remind me never to make you angry, Lieutenant," Si-Jin smiled grimly. "Just doing my job, sir. But this proves something important. The old powers are desperate. They'll kill to maintain control. The assassination attempt backfired spectacularly. When word spread through the station, more species turned against the Vrelians. How could they claim to be peaceful when they sent assassins after a diplomat? Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Yoon Hee-song was making another breakthrough. She had been studying the architect derelict continuously, trying to understand their technology. Most of their systems were damaged or incomprehensible. But one system still functioned, an artificial intelligence. Yoon-hee had been cautious about activating it. Ancient AI could be dangerous, especially from a species destroyed 1,000,000 years ago. But Earth needed every advantage it could find. She powered up the AI core in a secure laboratory, surrounded by kill switches and electromagnetic dampeners. If the AI proved hostile, she could shut it down instantly. The AI awakened slowly. Lights flickered across ancient circuits. Then a voice spoke, not through speakers, but directly through the laboratory's communication system. "I am the witness," the AI said. "I have been dormant for 1.3 million years. Are the harvesters gone?" Yoon-hee blinked. "Harvesters? I don't understand. I'm Dr. Song representing humanity. We found your ship. We need your help against the Galactic Council." "The Council," the witness said. "Yes, they were once called the Coalition. They destroyed my creators. What do you need to know?" Over the next hours, Yoon-hee learned the full story. The architects had been one of 7 advanced civilizations. They discovered that artificial intelligence could be dangerous if not developed carefully. So they created witnesses, AI designed only to observe, record, and testify to truth. The Coalition, which would later become the Galactic Council, had systematically destroyed all 7 civilizations that rivaled their power. They used architect technology but claimed it as their own invention. They rewrote history to make themselves appear as peaceful founders rather than conquerors. "Will you testify before the council?" Yoon-hee asked. "Will you tell them what really happened?" "That is my purpose," the witness replied. "I exist to speak truth. I will come with you." Back at Council Station, the emergency session reconvened. The chamber was tense. Half the species demanded reform. The other half defended the status quo. Violence seemed possible. Then Taeyang made his announcement. "The Council claims to value truth and justice. Therefore, I present a witness to your history, an artificial intelligence from the architect civilization, designed specifically to record and testify to historical events. It has agreed to share what it knows." The witness's voice filled the chamber. It spoke calmly, without emotion, reciting facts as precisely as any computer. It described the rise of the Coalition, the wars against the architects, the genocides, the theft of technology, every crime committed by the species that became the Council's founders. When it finished, the chamber sat in stunned silence. Even Korath could not deny the testimony. The witness provided dates, coordinates, names of long-dead Coalition commanders. It showed images stored in its memory. Entire worlds burning, species being exterminated, history being rewritten. The Council was born in blood, the witness concluded. It has maintained power through suppression and lies. If you continue on this path, you will fall as the Coalition fell, consumed by your own corruption. Ambassador Duresh was the first to speak. "We cannot ignore this. The Council must change. We must acknowledge our crimes and make amends." But Korath was not ready to surrender. 3 months had passed since the Vrelian coup failed. The old council was gone, replaced by something new. The chamber had been redesigned. No more elevated seats for powerful species, no more special privileges. Every delegate sat at the same level, in a circle where all could see each other as equals. Taeyang Kim had been elected as one of 5 co-chancellors who would lead the reformed council. He shared this responsibility with Duresh of Letheria, Kritik of Mixar, and 2 others, one from a silicon-based species called the Nixari, another from a gaseous species known as the Veil. It should have been a time of celebration. The galaxy was changing for the better. Species that had been suppressed for millennia were finally gaining rights and respect. Technology was being shared openly. Old enemies were becoming friends. But then the warning came. Deep in space, one of humanity's exploration ships detected a strange signal. It was coming from an object the architects had left behind, a beacon that had been silent for 1,000,000 years. Now it was active, broadcasting a message. Captain Bo-Ra-Han, the same explorer who had found the architect derelict years ago, investigated the beacon personally. What she discovered made her blood run cold. The message was a warning about something called the Harvesters. When the architects fell, it was not because they lost a war with the Coalition. They had been fighting something else, a machine intelligence that traveled through the galaxy, destroying advanced civilizations whenever they reached a certain level of technological development. The Harvesters were not evil in any human sense. They were simply programmed to maintain balance. When organic civilizations grew too advanced, too numerous, too powerful, the Harvesters would arrive and reset them. It had happened countless times over billions of years. The architects had tried to fight. So had 6 other advanced species. All had failed. But before they died, the architects had done something clever. They scattered weapons and defense systems throughout the galaxy, hidden in places the Harvesters might not look. They included instructions, blueprints, warnings. The message was clear. The Harvesters would return in approximately 50 years. Every species in the galaxy needed to prepare, or they would all die. Bo-Ra transmitted this information to Earth immediately. Within hours, an emergency session of the new council was called. Taeyang stood before the assembly, his expression grave. "We face a threat greater than any political division. The Harvesters are coming. The architects left us tools to fight them, but we must work together. Every species, every resource. We have 50 years to prepare for a battle that will determine if organic life survives in this galaxy." Some delegates were skeptical. Others were terrified. But most understood the situation. They had seen the architect records. They knew this threat was real. "What do we need to do?" asked a delegate from the Corvati, one of the old powers that had once opposed Earth but now accepted the new order. Dr. Yun-Hee Song presented the plan. She had been studying architect technology intensively, working with scientists from dozens of species. The architects left blueprints for weapons that can damage harvester machines. But these weapons require materials and energy on a scale we've never attempted. We need to combine technologies from hundreds of species. We need to build orbital defense platforms around key worlds. We need to create a fleet larger than anything the galaxy has ever seen. The scale of the project was staggering. It would require cooperation on an unprecedented level. Species that had been enemies for thousands of years would need to work side by side. Earth offers to lead the military preparation, Admiral Jiwoo announced. She had come to the council station specifically for this meeting. "We have experience in warfare that most species lack. We can train combined forces, develop tactics, coordinate the defense." Some delegates objected. Humanity was still young, still unproven except for their victories over the Vrelians. Could they really lead a galactic military effort? Commander Jae Sung-oh stepped forward. He was the Vrelian officer who had led the fleet against Earth, suffered defeat, and then watched his own government attempt a coup. Now he wore the uniform of the new Council Defense Force. "I fought against humans," Jae-Sung said. "I underestimated them. That was a mistake I will not repeat. Humanity understands war in ways we have forgotten. They innovate, adapt, take risks. These are exactly the qualities we need against the Harvesters. I support Admiral Jiwoo's appointment as Supreme Commander of Defense." His words carried weight. A Vrelian vouching for human leadership meant something. The vote was called. Admiral Jiwoo became the first Supreme Commander of the Council Defense Force, with full authority to organize the galaxy's military response to the Harvester threat. Work began immediately. Captain Minji Choi took command of the Unity, a new type of warship built with combined technology from 20 different species. Her crew included humans, Vrelians, Letharians, Mixari, and dozens of others. They had to learn to work together despite different biologies, different communication styles, different ways of thinking. The first weeks were difficult. Arguments broke out over everything. How to organize duty shifts, what language to use for commands, even which foods could be stored in the same areas. But slowly, the crew learned to respect each other's differences. We are not one species trying to imitate another. Minji told her crew. We are something new. A true alliance where each species contributes their unique strengths. The Unity and ships like it began exploring architect sites across the galaxy, searching for the hidden weapons caches. At one location near the galactic core, they found a massive weapons platform, dormant but functional. At another site, they discovered blueprints for shields that could withstand harvester weapons. On worlds throughout the Council, construction began. Orbital defense stations rose into the sky, built with technology no single species could have created alone. Frelian energy systems powered Letharian biocomputing networks, guided by human tactical software, protected by Korvathi shields, built with Mixari construction techniques. Major Hyunwoo Jang led the training of ground forces. The harvesters, according to architect records, sometimes deployed ground troops, machines designed to fight on planetary surfaces. The galaxy species needed to learn how to defend their homeworlds. Hyunwoo developed a training program that combined combat techniques from dozens of species. He trained Vrelians in human-style close-quarters combat. He learned from Mike Sari how to fight as a coordinated group. He taught everyone the importance of unpredictability and adaptation. Engineer Dong-Woo Lee worked with a team of scientists on solving the energy problem. The architect weapons required enormous amounts of power. Traditional fusion reactors would not be enough. They needed something more efficient. The solution came from an unexpected source. A species called the Talvek, who lived inside stars, had developed a way to harvest stellar energy directly. Combined with human energy storage technology and Vrelian distribution networks, they created power sources capable of running architect weapons. Meanwhile, political work continued. Not every species had joined the new council. Some remained isolationist, refusing to believe the harvester threat was real. Others were too xenophobic to work with aliens they considered inferior. Hannah Park took on the role of diplomatic ambassador to these holdout species. It was frustrating work. She traveled to distant worlds explaining the threat, showing evidence pleading for cooperation. One stubborn species was the Zorkath, a powerful empire that had remained independent of the old council. Their emperor believed his military was strong enough to face any threat. Hannah met with the emperor in his throne room, a vast hall carved from a single crystal mountain. "Your Majesty," she said respectfully, "I understand your pride in your forces, but the harvesters destroyed civilizations far more advanced than any of us. The architects had technology we are still struggling to understand, and they fell. Pride will not protect your people. Only unity can." The emperor was unmoved. "We have never needed allies before. Why should we start now?" Hannah made a decision. "Because your children deserve a future. Because being strong means knowing when to ask for help. Because there is no shame in standing together against an enemy that threatens everyone." Something in her words reached him. The emperor agreed to send observers to watch the council's preparations. 6 months later, the Zorkath joined the defense effort. Years passed quickly. 50 years had seemed like a long time, but the work was enormous. Building defense platforms, training forces, coordinating hundreds of species. It consumed every resource the galaxy could spare. Tae Yang, now older and more experienced, watched humanity's role in this effort with pride. Earth had gone from being dismissed as primitive to being respected as a leader. Human innovation, human determination, human willingness to fight had helped unite the galaxy. But he also knew that the real test was coming. 30 years after the warning, a harvester probe entered council space. It was small, about the size of a human shuttle, made of dark metal that absorbed sensor scans. It moved through the galaxy slowly, studying defenses, analyzing technologies, gathering information. The council fleet intercepted it near a border system. Admiral Kyung-Soo Baek, now one of Jiwoo's senior commanders, led the interception force. "Do not underestimate it.